The massive ship appeared without warning. It hung in space above Earth like a dark cloud, blocking out the stars. The ship was 3 times larger than any space station humans had ever built. Its black metal surface reflected no light. Behind it, hundreds of smaller warships waited in perfect formation. On Earth's orbital station, alarm systems screamed. Admiral Dae-hyun stood in the command center staring at the screens. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. His uniform was crisp and clean. His face showed no fear, only calculation. Around him, officers shouted reports and coordinates. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," a young officer said. Her voice shook slightly. "Put it on screen," Dae-hyun replied. The main display flickered. A face appeared. The creature was tall and thin with purple skin and 4 golden eyes. It wore elaborate robes covered in symbols. When it spoke, the words came through a translator device. "I am Ambassador Vexthar of the Galactic Council. Your species has been discovered. You have developed space travel without permission. You have built weapons without authorization. This cannot continue." Dae-hyun stepped forward. "Permission? Authorization? We don't need anyone's permission to explore our own solar system." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand your position. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 of your years. All species must submit to our authority. You are primitives. You only left your planet 400 years ago. You still fight among yourselves. You build nuclear weapons like children playing with fire. We have stopped fighting each other," Dae-hyun said quietly. "Mostly. That changes nothing. The Council has made its decision. You will surrender all military vessels. You will dismantle all weapons. You will accept Council governors to rule your planet. You will pay tribute in minerals and labor. If you refuse, we will use force. You have 30 days to comply." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. The command center fell silent. Every person in the room looked at Dae-hyun. He stood still for a long moment, then turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel, all frequencies. Make sure they can hear us." The officer's fingers flew across her console. "Channel open, sir." Dae-hyun looked directly at the camera. His voice was calm and clear. "Ambassador Vexthar. The Galactic Council. Whoever else is listening. Humanity does not kneel. We will consider your proposal and reject it. We will not surrender our ships. We will not give up our weapons. We will not accept foreign rule. If you want Earth, you will have to take it from us." He made a cutting motion with his hand. The transmission ended. The command center erupted in nervous chatter. Dae-hyun turned to his staff. "Contact Earth Defense Command. Wake up the President. Call an emergency session of the United Nations. We need everyone on the same page within 6 hours." 8 hours later, Dae-hyun stood in a conference room with the most powerful people on Earth. The room was deep underground in Geneva. Defense Minister Bora sat at the head of the table. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and silver hair tied back tightly. She had once been a diplomat, but war had changed her career. "Let me be clear," Bora said. "Every intelligence agency agrees. The Council is not bluffing. They have the power to destroy our planet. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Maybe thousands. If we fight, we will probably lose. Then why are we even discussing this?" asked a general from China. "We should negotiate." "Negotiate what?" Dae-hyun replied. "They didn't offer us terms. They gave us orders. Surrender everything or be destroyed. There's no middle ground." A woman stood up at the far end of the table. Dr. Jiwoo was younger than most people in the room. She wore a white lab coat over casual clothes. Her black hair was messy and she had dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. "I have something to show you," she said. "Project Prometheus. We've been working on it for 3 years, ever since we detected the first alien probe in our solar system." She touched a control panel. Holographic displays filled the air above the table. Images of weapons appeared, ships, missiles, strange devices that glowed with barely contained energy. "We knew this day would come," Jiwoo continued. "We hoped for peaceful contact, but we prepared for war. These are kinetic kill vehicles, railguns, nuclear-pumped lasers, antimatter torpedoes, drone swarms. We studied their ship designs from the probe data. Their shields are strong against energy weapons, but kinetic impacts can overwhelm them. How many ships do we have?" asked the American Secretary of Defense. Bora pulled up another display. "Currently, 800 combat vessels, but every shipyard in the system is working full capacity. In 30 days we can have 3,000. They won't be as advanced as Council ships, but we'll have numbers. 3,000 ships in 30 days? Someone said. That's impossible. Not if every nation contributes, Bo-Ra replied. We convert civilian factories. We use automated construction. We cut every corner we can. The ships will be simple. Fast engines, heavy weapons, minimal armor. We don't need them to survive long. We just need them to fight. The room fell into debate. Voices rose and fell. Arguments flew back and forth. Finally, the president of the United Earth government stood. She was an old woman who had survived 3 wars. We vote, she said. All in favor of total mobilization for war? Hands rose, one by one. Slowly at first, then faster. When the count finished, the vote was unanimous. Then we are agreed, the president said. Humanity goes to war. May whatever gods exist have mercy on us. The next weeks passed in a blur. Every factory on Earth changed production. Car plants built missile components. Computer facilities programmed combat AI. Orbital construction yards welded hull plating day and night. The asteroid mines sent raw materials in a constant stream. Captain Tae-Yang watched his new fighter take shape in a military hangar. He was young for a squadron commander, only 28 years old, but he had more combat flight hours than anyone else in the Defense Force. His black hair was cut short, and he had a scar across his left cheek from an accident during training. She's beautiful, said his wingman, a pilot named Hana. Tai-Yang nodded. The fighter was small and angular. It had oversized engines and weapon pods that looked too large for its frame. Beautiful and deadly, just how I like them. How many sorties do you think we'll get? Hana asked quietly. Tae-Yang was silent for a moment. They both knew the truth. These fighters were fast and heavily armed, but they had almost no armor. One good hit would destroy them. As many as it takes, he finally said. That's all that matters. On the 30th day, Admiral Dae-Hyun stood in the command center again. Around Earth, thousands of human warships waited in formation. More ships defended Mars and the Moon. Every asteroid base had been armed with missiles. The solar system had become a fortress. Sir, the communications officer said. Incoming transmission from the Council fleet. Let's hear it, Dae-Hyun replied. Vex-Thar's face filled the screen again. Your time has expired. Do you surrender? Dae-Hyun smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Come and make us, the transmission cut. In orbit, the Council fleet began to move, and humanity prepared to show the galaxy what it meant to face a species that refused to kneel. The shipyards never stopped working. Day and night, sparks flew from welding torches. Giant construction robots moved hull sections into place. Humans in spacesuits guided the final assembly. In 30 days, Earth had built an armada. Defense Minister Bo-Ra walked through one of the orbital factories. She wore a standard military uniform, but her steps were tired. She had not slept more than 3 hours in any single night since the Council's ultimatum. Around her, workers moved with desperate speed. Minister, called a supervisor. He was a heavy man with oil stains on his coveralls. We finished the last batch. 200 destroyers. They're ready for weapons installation. Bo-Ra nodded. Good. Send them to the weapons depot at Luna Base. How are we on missile production? The supervisor checked his tablet. 15 million units completed. Another 5 million by tomorrow. The factories on Earth are working triple shifts. It won't be enough, Bo-Ra said quietly. It will never be enough. But it's all we have. She moved to a viewing window. Below, Earth hung in space like a blue marble. Beautiful, fragile, worth fighting for. She pressed her hand against the cold glass. In a secret laboratory deep under the Swiss Alps, Dr. Jiwoo stood before a massive device. It looked like a metal sphere covered in cooling pipes and power cables. Energy readings flickered on nearby screens. Are you sure this will work? Asked her assistant. A young man named Kwon Jiwoo adjusted her glasses. No, but the theory is sound. When we detonate this device, it should create a pulse that disrupts their shield generators. For about 5 seconds. That's our window. 5 seconds? Kwon looked worried. That's not much time. It's enough to land a killing blow. If our ships are in position, if the timing is perfect, if nothing goes wrong, she laughed bitterly. Too many ifs, but it's the best chance we have. She pulled up holographic battle plans. They showed the Council fleet positions and human attack vectors. Red lines marked firing solutions. Blue circles indicated shield coverage. The Council thinks we're primitive, Jiwoo said. They expect us to fight with honor. With formation tactics. They don't understand that humans learned warfare in the mud and blood of Earth. We know how to be dirty, how to be unpredictable. That's our advantage. At a military training base in orbit around Mars, Captain Tae Yang led his squadron through combat drills. 50 fighters moved through space in complex patterns. They dove, rolled, and scattered like schools of fish avoiding a predator. Again, Tae Yang shouted into his radio. You're too slow. The Council ships have targeting computers that can track a bullet. If you fly predictable, you're dead. Randomize. Be chaos. The fighters scattered in all directions. Some flew backward while firing. Others used micro-jumps to teleport short distances. One pilot did a barrel roll while releasing decoy drones. Better, Tae Yang said. Remember, you're not trying to dogfight. You're missiles with pilots. Get in close, deliver your payload, and get out. If you try to be heroes, you die. If you follow orders, you might survive. His wingman Hana flew up beside him. Her fighter matched his speed perfectly. Do you really think we can win? Tae Yang was quiet for a moment. I think we can make them regret coming here. That's good enough for me. The Council did not sit idle. They sent spy drones to monitor Earth's preparations. What they saw shocked them. In the Council command ship, Vexithar reviewed the intelligence reports. His 4 golden eyes narrowed as he read. Around him, his officers waited nervously. This cannot be accurate, he said. They claim the humans have built over 3,000 warships in 30 days. Confirmed, Commander, replied an intelligence officer. They have converted their entire industrial capacity to military production. Every factory, every shipyard, every mining operation. Their entire species is mobilized for war. Madness, Vexthar muttered. They must know they cannot win. Why do they resist? A cultural advisor stepped forward. She was from a species that had studied human transmissions. Commander, I have analyzed their entertainment broadcasts and historical records. Humans have a saying, give me liberty or give me death. They would rather be destroyed than enslaved. Then we will grant them death, Vexthar said coldly. Order the fleet to prepare for assault. We will show these primitives the price of defiance. On the final day before the Council's arrival, Admiral Daehyun called a meeting of all ship commanders. They appeared on screens from across the solar system. Thousands of faces looked at him, young and old, men and women, every nation and culture represented. Tomorrow the Council fleet arrives, Daehyun began. They expect us to surrender. They think we are afraid. They believe that one show of force will break our will. He paused, looking at each face on the screens. They are wrong. We are afraid. Any sane person would be. But fear does not make us weak. Fear makes us human. And humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own stupidity. We are still here. We endure. The Council is older than us. They have better technology, bigger ships. But they have forgotten something important. They have forgotten what it means to fight for your home, for your family, for your right to exist. We remember. That memory is our strength. Daehyun's voice grew stronger. Tomorrow we show them what humanity is capable of. We fight not because we can win. We fight because surrender is not in our nature. We fight because freedom is worth any price. We fight because we are human and we do not kneel. The screens erupted in cheers. Fists raised. Voices shouted in 100 languages. The message was clear. Humanity was ready. That night, Bora found herself unable to sleep. She walked through the empty corridors of the command station. Through a window, she could see the fleet. Thousands of ships hung in space like stars. Each one carried hundreds of people. People who believed in their mission. People who were willing to die. She had sent those people to war. She had made the plans, calculated the odds, accepted the casualties before they happened. The weight of it pressed on her chest like a physical thing. Minister, a voice came from behind her. Bora turned. Dr. Jiwoo stood in the corridor carrying a tablet and a cup of coffee. Can't sleep either? Bora asked. Jiwoo shook her head. Too much to think about. Every variable I might have missed. Every calculation that could be wrong. She looked out the window at the fleet. All those lives depending on my equations. We did everything we could, Bora said quietly. Sometimes that has to be enough. Is it though? Enough? Jiwoo's voice was small. What if I made a mistake? What if the pulse generator doesn't work? What if— Then we adapt, Bora interrupted. That's what humans do. We adapt, we improvise. We survive. The Council has forgotten that species who get too comfortable stop evolving. We're still hungry, still dangerous. That counts for something. They stood together in silence, watching the fleet. Somewhere out there, Tae-yang was checking his fighter for the 100th time. Dae-hyun was reviewing battle plans. Thousands of others were making peace with their choices. "When this is over," Ji-woo said, "assuming we survive, I want to go back to peaceful research. Maybe study stars instead of building weapons." Bora smiled sadly. "When this is over, I want to retire to a small house in the mountains. Grow vegetables. Never make another life or death decision again." "Sounds nice," Ji-woo said. "It does," Bora agreed. "First, though, we have to win a war." The next morning, alarms sounded across every human installation. The Council fleet had arrived. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, their ships forming a wall of metal and weaponry. Vex-Thar's dreadnought led the formation, a massive vessel that dwarfed anything humans had built. In the command center, Admiral Dae-hyun watched the enemy arrive. His expression was calm, almost peaceful. He had played this moment in his mind 1,000 times. Now it was real. "All ships," he said into the communication system. "Battle stations. This is not a drill. The enemy is here. Show them what humanity is made of." Across the solar system, 3,000 warships powered up their weapons. Millions of missiles armed their warheads. Thousands of pilots climbed into their fighters. And humanity prepared to prove that some species would rather burn than bow. The Council fleet moved through space like a predator, hundreds of warships in perfect formation. Their shields glowed with barely visible energy. Weapon ports tracked in all directions. They expected to find a frightened planet. Instead, they flew into a trap. Admiral Dae-hyun stood in his command center watching the tactical display. The Council ships showed as red markers. Human forces appeared in blue. Thousands of blue dots surrounded the red formation from all sides. "They're not scanning properly," said his tactical officer. "They think we only have a few hundred ships near Earth. They don't see the forces we hid behind asteroids and moons." Dae-hyun nodded. "Arrogance. They assume we're too primitive to deceive them. Let's show them what assumptions cost." Vex-Thar sat on his command throne, reviewing the scanner data. Everything appeared normal. A few human ships fled toward their planet. Defensive stations orbited uselessly. This would be over quickly. "Open a channel to the human leadership," he ordered. "Let us accept their surrender and end this farce." Before his communications officer could respond, every alarm on the ship screamed at once. The tactical display lit up like a fireworks show. Thousands of new contacts appeared. They came from every direction. Behind asteroids, from the shadow of Jupiter's moons, out of the rings of Saturn. "Impossible," Vex-Thar shouted. Where did they all come from? An incoming transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Dae-hyun's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling. "Ambassador Vex-Thar, you wanted to see what humanity is capable of. Allow us to demonstrate." The transmission ended. A second later, hell broke loose. 3,000 human warships opened fire simultaneously. Railguns launched tungsten rods at incredible speeds. Nuclear missiles streaked through space by the thousands. Kinetic kill vehicles, asteroids with engines attached, accelerated toward the Council fleet like hammers of God. The Council's shields held against the first wave. Energy barriers flickered as they absorbed impacts. But humanity had learned from their intelligence data. They knew energy shields had limits. Enough kinetic force would overwhelm them. "Second wave," Dae-hyun ordered. "Fire everything." Another barrage struck the Council fleet. Shields began to fail, first on the smaller ships, then on the larger vessels. Tungsten rods punched through hulls. Nuclear warheads detonated against armor. The perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to evade. Captain Tae-yang led his fighter squadron through the chaos. Around him, explosions lit up space. Debris fields appeared where ships had been seconds before. His tactical display was a nightmare of targets and threats. "Thunderbolt Squadron, this is lead," he called over the radio. "Target is the Council dreadnought. We're going for the hangar bay. Follow my approach vector and do not deviate." "Copy that, lead," Hana replied. "We're right behind you." 50 fighters screamed toward Vex-Thar's flagship. Point defense systems tracked them immediately. Energy beams lanced through space. The first fighter exploded in a ball of fire. Then another. And another. Tae-yang jinked left, then right. His fighter's computer screamed warnings. He ignored them all. "Stay random. Don't give them a clean shot." More fighters died, but the survivors kept coming. They were too fast, too unpredictable. The Council's targeting computers could not track all of them. One fighter slipped through the defensive fire. Then 5, then 10, hangar bay dead ahead. Tae-Yang called. Arm warheads. On my mark. The massive opening of the Dreadnought's hangar appeared before them. Inside, Council fighters were launching. Tae-Yang locked his targeting system. His finger hovered over the firing button. Mark. Fire, fire, fire. 20 fighters released their antimatter torpedoes. The weapon streaked into the hangar bay. Tae-Yang pulled up hard, feeling the G-forces crush him into his seat. Behind him, the hangar bay became a sun. The explosion tore through the Dreadnought's interior. Secondary explosions followed. The massive ship shuddered. Hull plating ripped away. Atmosphere vented into space. The rear third of the vessel broke off completely, tumbling away in flames. Target destroyed. Someone shouted over the radio. We got it. We actually got it. Tae-Yang checked his squadron status. 30 fighters had started the run. 12 survived. He felt sick, but they had done their job. All units return to Rally Point Alpha, he ordered. Rearm and refuel. We're not done yet. On the crippled dreadnought, Vexthar pulled himself from the wreckage of his command chair. Smoke filled the bridge. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Half his crew was dead. The ship was dying. Status report, he demanded. A wounded officer looked up from a flickering display. Commander, we've lost 38 ships. Another 60 are damaged. The humans have taken heavy casualties, but they keep coming. They fight like nothing we've ever seen. Vexthar stared at the tactical display. The human fleet swarmed around his forces like angry insects. Every time his ships destroyed one, 3 more took its place. It was madness. No species fought like this. They're not trying to win, he said slowly. They're trying to hurt us as much as possible. They accept their losses. They don't care about casualties. Commander, we must retreat, the officer said. If we stay, they will destroy us all. Pride and rage warred in Vexthar's expression. The Council had ruled for 10,000 years. They had never retreated from a primitive species, but the alternative was annihilation. Order the fleet to fall back, he finally said. Retreat to the edge of the system. We will regroup and request reinforcements. The Council ships turned and fled. Human forces pursued them, firing until the enemy ships jumped to faster than light speed and vanished. In the command center, Admiral Dae-Hyun watched them go. Around him, officers cheered. They had won. Actually won. It seemed impossible. Defense Minister Bora appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted but triumphant. Admiral, we did it. They're running. For now, Dae-Hyun replied. Get me a casualty report. I need to know what this cost us. The numbers came in slowly. 800 human ships destroyed, 30,000 dead, countless wounded, several orbital stations damaged. But they had survived. They had hurt the Council. They had proven that humanity would not submit easily. Dr. Jiwoo watched the aftermath from her laboratory. She had not needed to use the pulse generator. Humanity's conventional weapons had been enough. Part of her was relieved. Part of her was terrified. We bloodied them, she said to Quan. But this was just the first round. They'll come back. With more ships, better tactics. They won't underestimate us again. Quan nodded slowly. So what do? We prepare for round 2, Jiwoo said grimly. And we hope we have enough left to survive it. Captain Tae-Yang sat in his fighter, still docked at a repair station. He had removed his helmet. His hands shook slightly. He could still see the faces of the pilots who had not come back. Friends, colleagues, people he had trained with. Hana appeared at his cockpit, climbing up the access ladder. She looked as tired as he felt. You okay? She asked. No, Tae-Yang said honestly. But I will be. We have to be. They're saying we're heroes, Hana said. The squadron that killed a dreadnought. Heroes, Tae-Yang repeated bitterly. 38 people died, so 12 of us could be heroes. What kind of math is that? Hana did not answer. There was no good answer. They both knew the truth. This was war. People died. The best you could do was make sure their sacrifice meant something. Across human space, people celebrated. They danced in the streets. They raised glasses to the brave defenders. They told stories of humanity's victory over the arrogant Council. For one brief moment, hope bloomed. But in the command centers and laboratories, the leaders knew better. This was not victory. This was a reprieve. The Council would return, and when they did, they would bring everything they had. The real war was just beginning. 6 weeks after the first battle, the warning came. Long-range sensors detected the new Council fleet while it was still days away. This time, there were no mistakes. No surprises. The Council sent an armada. Defense Minister Bora stood in the Situation Room, staring at the tactical display. The number of enemy ships made her stomach turn. Over 1,000 capital ships, 3,000 support vessels, carrier groups that could launch thousands of fighters, siege platforms designed to crack planets. "How many ships have we managed to rebuild?" she asked quietly. An officer checked his tablet. 2,200 combat-ready vessels, Minister. We've been working around the clock, but we lost too much in the first engagement. We're running low on raw materials. 2,200 against 4,000, Bora said. And their ships are better than ours. This is going to be bad. Admiral Daehyun entered the room. He had not slept well in weeks. His face showed it. But his eyes were still sharp, still calculating. "We cannot fight them head-on," he said. "Not this time. They know our tactics now. They will be ready for our ambushes and swarm attacks. We need something new." Dr. Jiwoo pulled up a holographic display. It showed the solar system with various marked positions. "We evacuate Mars and the outer colonies, pull everyone back to Earth. Then we turn the entire solar system into a minefield." "Explain," Daehyun said. "Project Ragnarok," Jiwoo continued. "We have hundreds of asteroids rigged with engines and explosives. We set them on collision courses throughout the system, create zones of debris moving at high speed. Any ship that enters takes damage. It slows them down, forces them into predictable paths where we can hit them harder. It will buy us time," Bora said slowly, "but not enough. Eventually they will reach Earth, and when they do, we will not be able to stop them." Daehyun was quiet for a long moment. Everyone in the room watched him, waiting for his decision. Finally he spoke. "We do everything we can. We make them pay for every mile of space, for every ship they bring. We show them that conquering Earth will cost more than they are willing to spend. If we die fighting. That is our answer." The evacuation of Mars took 3 days. Millions of civilians packed into transport ships. They left behind homes, businesses, entire lives. But they left alive. That was what mattered. Captain Tae-yang flew escort for the last transport convoy. His squadron had been rebuilt. New pilots replaced the ones who had died. They were good pilots. But they were not his friends. "Not yet. Lead, this is Transport 7, a voice crackled over his radio. "We're clear of Mars orbit. Thanks for the escort." "Copy that, Transport 7, Tae-yang replied. "Get home safe." He looked back at Mars. The red planet hung in space, now empty of human life. Automated defense platforms remained. Missile batteries. Gun emplacements. All waiting for an enemy that would destroy them. "Such a waste," Hana said over the private channel. She had survived the first battle. "One of the lucky ones. We will take it back," Tae-yang said. "After we win. We will rebuild." "You really think we can win?" Tae-yang did not answer immediately. Honesty felt important. "I think we can make them regret starting this fight. Maybe that is enough." The Council Armada arrived like a storm. They did not rush. They moved slowly and carefully, scanning for traps, checking for ambushes. They had learned from the first battle. Vexthar had survived his ship's destruction, but he was no longer in command. The Council had sent High Commander Karnash to lead the assault. She was a veteran of 100 campaigns, cold, efficient, ruthless. "Status report," she ordered from her command throne. "The humans have abandoned their outer colonies," an officer reported. "Mars is empty except for automated defenses. They have concentrated their forces near Earth." "Good," Karnash said. "That makes this simpler. We destroy Mars as an example. Then we move to Earth and finish this." The Council fleet approached Mars. Defense platforms opened fire immediately. Missiles streaked through space. Railguns launched their deadly projectiles. For a few minutes it looked like the defenses might hold. Then the Council brought up their siege platforms. Massive ships designed for one purpose: destruction. They fired beams of pure energy that cut through metal like paper. Mars's defenses lasted 30 minutes. Then they were gone. "Continue to Earth," Karnash ordered. "Maintain formation. Watch for human tricks." The tricks came. Asteroid fields appeared in their path, forcing the fleet to slow down and navigate carefully. Kinetic mines disguised as space debris detonated against shields. Small hit-and-run attacks chipped away at their numbers, But the council kept coming. Slowly, inevitably, like a glacier crushing everything in its path. They are not stopping, Dr. Jiwoo said from her laboratory. She watched the tactical displays with growing despair. Nothing we do even slows them significantly. They just absorb our attacks and keep moving. How long until they reach Earth? Bora asked. 48 hours, Jiwoo replied. Maybe less if they push hard. Bora felt the weight of failure pressing down on her. She had planned everything. Coordinated the defense. Used every trick and tactic she knew. And it was not enough. There is one more option, Jiwoo said quietly. The pulse generator. If we can get close enough to their command ship, we can disable their shields for a few seconds. Give our fleet a chance to land a killing blow. How do we get close enough? Bora asked. They will shoot down anything we send. Not anything, a voice said from the doorway. Captain Taeyang stood there, still in his flight suit. Not if we make them focus on something else. Not if we give them a target too important to ignore. 40 hours later, the Council fleet entered Earth orbit. The planet hung before them. Blue and green, beautiful, defenseless. Karanash allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The humans had fought well for primitives, but this was the end. Begin orbital bombardment, she ordered. Target their military installations first. Then industrial centers. Show them the cost of defiance. Energy beams lanced down from orbit. Explosions bloomed across the planet's surface. Bases vanished in nuclear fire. Shipyards melted into slag. The human fleet tried to intercept, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Then something unexpected happened. The human fleet stopped defending. Instead, every ship turned and rushed toward Karnash's command vessel. All of them, at once. It was suicide. What are they doing? An officer asked. Karnash watched the tactical display. The humans were not trying to win. They were trying to reach her ship. Why? What did they hope to accomplish? All weapons target the human fleet, she ordered. Destroy them. The Council fleet opened fire. Human ships exploded by the dozens. But the rest kept coming. And hidden among them, flying low and fast, was a single fighter. Captain Taeyang pushed his fighter to its absolute limit. The frame shook. Warning alarms screamed. He ignored them all. Strapped into his cargo bay was Dr. Jiwoo's pulse generator. One chance. That was all they had. Taeyang, your ship is falling apart, Hana called over the radio. You need to slow down. Can't, he replied. If I slow down, they will shoot me. I have to get close. Have to make this count. A Council destroyer spotted him. Energy beams reached out. Taeyang rolled and dove. One wing took a hit. The fighter spun, but he regained control. Closer, just a little closer. Target range in 5 seconds, the computer announced. 4, 3, 2, 1 mark. Taeyang activated the pulse generator. The device burned itself out instantly, but not before releasing a massive electromagnetic wave. It washed over Karnash's command ship. Shields flickered and died. Now, Admiral Daehyun shouted, All ships, fire! Everything you have. The human fleet unleashed their remaining weapons. Missiles, torpedoes, railgun slugs, all focused on one target, the Council command ship. Without shields, it was vulnerable. Impacts tore through armor. Explosions rippled along its hull, but Taeyang's fighter was too close to the blast zone. The shockwave caught him, threw him like a toy. His cockpit cracked. Atmosphere vented. His last thought was of Earth, still there. Still fighting. Karnash felt her ship dying around her. She staggered to the escape pod station. Around her, crew members did the same. The command vessel was lost. The humans had done the impossible. Again. As her pod launched, she looked back at the ruined flagship. At the human fleet, battered but still fighting. At the planet that refused to surrender. For the first time in her long career, she felt something new. Not fear exactly, but respect. These humans were different, dangerous, maybe too dangerous to fight. The Council fleet hung in orbit, leaderless and confused. Their command ship was destroyed. High Commander Karnash had escaped, but she could no longer coordinate the assault. Ships waited for orders that did not come, and humanity struck. Admiral Daehyun stood in his command center watching the tactical display. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered in his chest. The enemy was vulnerable. This was their chance. All ships, he said into the communication system. Full assault. Target their command structure. Do not let them reorganize. This is our moment. The human fleet, battered and reduced to less than 1,000 ships, charged forward. They knew the odds. They knew many would not survive. But they also knew this might be their only chance to turn the battle. The Council ships tried to respond, but without central coordination, their formations fell apart. Individual captains made their own decisions. Some fought. Some retreated. Some tried to regroup. The unity that had made them strong was gone. Human ships swarmed through the gaps in their formation, firing, ramming, using every desperate tactic they knew. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos. In a repair station orbiting Earth, Hana climbed into a new fighter. Tears ran down her face. Taeyang was gone. Her best friend. Her wingman, dead in the blast that had crippled the Council command ship. "I will finish what you started," she whispered. "I promise," she launched. Around her, other fighters joined in formation. They were all that remained of the original squadrons. But they flew with purpose, with rage, with the memory of everyone they had lost. Defense Minister Bo-Ra watched the battle from the Situation Room on Earth. She had barely slept, barely eaten. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her hair was a mess, but her eyes were fierce. "Minister," an aide said, "incoming transmission. It is from the Council fleet. They want to talk." Bo-Ra straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The screen flickered. High Commander Karnash appeared. She looked different now. Less confident. More uncertain. Her purple skin showed bruises from her escape pod's rough landing. "I request a ceasefire," Karnash said without preamble. To discuss terms, Bo-Ra felt a surge of triumph, but she kept her face neutral. "You invaded our system, destroyed our colonies, killed our people. And now you want to discuss terms?" "Yes," Karnash replied simply, "because continuing this fight serves no purpose. We have lost too much. You have lost too much. Further bloodshed benefits no one." "You are losing," Bo-Ra said. "That is what has changed. Not your concern for bloodshed?" Karnash inclined her head slightly. "Perhaps. But consider this. I can order my fleet to retreat. Leave your system. Report to the Council that humans are too costly to conquer. Or I can order them to fight to the last ship. Which outcome do you prefer?" Bo-Ra wanted to refuse, wanted to destroy every Council ship, make them pay for everything they had done. But she thought of the cost. How many more humans would die? How many more ships would be lost? How much more damage would Earth take? "What terms?" she asked. Over the next 2 hours, they negotiated. Admiral Daehyun joined the discussion. Dr. Jiwoo provided technical input. Slowly, an agreement took shape. The Council would withdraw from human space immediately. They would recognize Earth's sovereignty. In exchange, humanity would not pursue the retreating fleet, would not broadcast the details of the battle to other species. But Bo-Ra added one more condition, one that made Karnash's eyes widen. "Humanity wants a seat on the Galactic Council," Bo-Ra said, "as full members, with voting rights, with equal status to any other species." "That is impossible," Karnash replied. "The Council does not admit primitive species." "We just defeated your fleet," Daehyun said coldly. "We destroyed your command ship. We forced you to negotiate. Do we seem primitive to you?" Karnash was silent for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. "I will recommend it to the Council. I believe they will agree. You have proven your strength. That is the only language the Council truly understands." The ceasefire took effect immediately. The Council fleet withdrew. Human ships did not pursue. Both sides were too exhausted to continue, too damaged, too depleted. As the last Council vessel jumped to faster-than-light speed, humanity began to count the cost. Over 2,000 ships destroyed. 100,000 dead. Mars devastated. Multiple orbital stations damaged or destroyed. The victory had been bought with rivers of blood, but humanity had survived. And more than that, they had won. 3 months later, Defense Minister Bo-Ra stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous. Representatives from 100 species sat in curved rows. All of them stared at her. The human. The primitive who had bloodied the Council's nose. She wore a simple military uniform. No decorations. No ornaments. Just the insignia of Earth's Unified Defense Command. She stood straight and spoke clearly. "I am Bo-Ra of Earth. I speak for humanity. We did not want this war. We wanted only to live in peace and explore the stars. But you gave us no choice. You demanded we kneel. We refused. And here we stand." She looked around the chamber. Some representatives looked angry. Some looked impressed. Most looked uncertain. I have a message for every species represented here, Bora continued. For those under council rule. For those considering rebellion. For those who wonder if freedom is possible. My message is simple. Humanity will never kneel, and neither should you. The chamber erupted. Some representatives cheered. Others shouted in outrage. The council's oldest members looked shocked. No one had spoken to them like this in centuries, but Bora was not finished. We accept our seat on this council, but know this. We will not be silent. We will not obey unjust laws. We will speak for the oppressed, for the conquered, for anyone who believes freedom is worth fighting for. That is humanity's promise to the galaxy. She sat down. The chamber fell into chaos. Arguments flew back and forth. But the deed was done. Humanity was now part of galactic politics, and they would change everything. Dr. Jiwoo found herself appointed as Earth's chief ambassador. She stood in her new office on the council's central station, looking out at the stars. So many worlds, so many species, so much potential. Are you ready for this? Asked Kwan. He had come with her as her assistant. No, Jiwoo admitted. But I will figure it out. That is what humans do. We figure things out. Over the following months, Bora's speech spread across the galaxy. Other species heard it, downloaded it, translated it, shared it. Some governments tried to suppress it, but information once released cannot be contained. Rebellions began, small at first, a colony refusing to pay tribute, a species demanding representation, a world closing its borders to council forces. The rigid order that had ruled for 10,000 years began to crack. The council tried to respond with force. But the other species had learned from humanity's example. They armed themselves. They united. They fought back. And slowly, the balance of power shifted. 5 years after the war ended, Admiral Daehyun retired from active duty. He stood before a memorial wall on Earth. The wall bore millions of names. Every person who had died defending humanity. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, civilians caught in the crossfire. He found the name he was looking for. Captain Taeyang, fighter pilot, hero, friend. Daehyun placed his hand on the cold stone. We did it, he said quietly. We won. The council recognizes us now. Other species are following our example. The galaxy is changing. I thought you should know. He stood there for a long time, remembering, honoring, grieving. The war was over, but its cost would never be forgotten. Hana found him there. She had continued flying. Now she trained the next generation of pilots, teaching them the tactics that had saved humanity. Admiral, she said. Or should I just call you Daehyun now? He smiled slightly. Daehyun is fine. I'm just a citizen now. They stood together looking at the memorial. Thousands of names, thousands of sacrifices. The price of freedom was always high. Do you think it was worth it? Hana asked quietly. Daehyun considered the question carefully. I think about that every day. All the people we lost. All the destruction. All the pain. Was it worth it? He looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, Earth ships patrolled free space. Human colonies grew on distant worlds. Humanity had its place among the stars. Yes, he said finally. It was worth it. Because we proved something important. We proved that freedom cannot be taken from those willing to fight for it. We proved that new species can challenge old powers. We proved that humanity does not kneel. Hana nodded. Taeyang would have liked that answer. He would have, Daehyun agreed. He died for it. They all died for it. The least we can do is make sure their sacrifice meant something. They walked away from the memorial together. Behind them, the names remained. A permanent reminder. A warning to anyone who thought humanity would submit easily. In the Galactic Council chambers, Bora addressed another session. She spoke about fair treatment for all species, about ending tribute systems, about giving every world a voice. Some council members supported her, others opposed her, but all of them listened, because humanity had earned that, through blood and fire, through sacrifice and determination, through refusing to kneel even when facing extinction. Dr. Jiwoo worked late in her office. She was building alliances, making connections, finding other species who believed in change. The work was slow, frustrating, but it was important.